Looks like it just finished up, so I'm going to start it here. Senators are going to give some of their views on Kennedy. I think we know where that's going to go. See what happens with this vote. Very important vote today. Okay. All right, so if my understanding is correct, today they are going to have the committee vote first. Just checking the audio. The committee vote first, and then if it gets past committee, then next week it will go to the full Senate, and the full Senate will get to vote on both RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. Two very important things that should be happening next week. So to get out of the committee, I don't think that's going to be an issue. It shouldn't be. You just never know, and I'm very nervous about all of this stuff. But President Trump did make an interesting post today. Let me see if I can share this. President Trump posted this earlier this morning. This is big. He said 29 years ago, autism in children was 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 34. Wow. Something's really wrong. We need Bobby. Thank you, DJT. So good, because I hadn't really heard too much of Trump. Trump didn't really comment on the hearing. He didn't comment on any of the hearings last week, but I think he reposted a few things. He didn't repost anything regarding Kennedy. So that always makes me nervous when he does. When he doesn't do anything like that. And then over on X, RFK Jr., always want to see what's going on with him too. And you can see that he has been posting a few things. Posted this 51 minutes ago. Thank you, Senator Tills. Look forward to supporting Robert Kennedy Jr.'s confirmation and working with him to make America healthy again. Great job. Love that guy, Tom Tillis. Senator Rand Paul. Today at Robert Kennedy Jr.'s HELP hearing, I made it clear we need medical freedom. There's such a belief in submission. Submit to the government. Do what you're told. There is no discussion. There ought to be a debate. RFK Jr. has my vote. Of course, that was posted on the 30th. I don't know when this one, Senator Tom Tillis, looks like that was posted yesterday. So really nothing new so far. And then, of course, some great quotes. I'll play a few of these. It's good stuff here.
That is a pejorative, Senator. That's
a question for you. Are you a conspiracy theorist?
That is a pejorative, Senator, that's applied to me, mainly to keep me from asking difficult questions of powerful interests. I was told that I was a conspiracy theorist. That label was applied to me because I said that the COVID vaccine, didn't prevent transmission and it wouldn't prevent infection, when the government was telling people, Americans, that it would. I was saying that because I was looking at the monkey studies in May of 2020. I was called a conspiracy. Now everybody admits it. I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said red dye caused cancer. And now FDA has acknowledged that and banned it. I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said fluoride lowered IQ. Last week, JAMA published a meta-review of 87 studies saying that there's a direct inverse correlation between IQ.
So I don't know why that clip always cuts off right there, but that is a good one. I think I did play that last time. So that's where we're at right now. And then I'm going to go back to the hearing. I think I get to that one. Senate Finance Committee to vote on RFK confirmation. And of course, there's the same cast of characters, a bunch of sellouts, traitors to America, and then some of the good people over on the other side. But all of this is true. So I think that we're going to hear some senators give some testimony. There's Mike Crapo, Crapo, senator from the great state of Idaho.
We are meeting today to consider the nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. We are still waiting to get all of our members here, and while we wait for that to occur, we will proceed with statements. And I will proceed first, then Senator Wyden, and then we will rotate from one side to the other until we are at a point where we're prepared for the vote. Does that fit with you, Senator Wyden?
Sir.
Mr. Kennedy, if confirmed, will have the opportunity to deliver much needed change to our nation's healthcare system. He has spent his career fighting to end America's chronic illness epidemic and has been a leading advocate for healthcare transparency, both for patients and for taxpayers. Mr. Kennedy has also clearly responded to our questions during the rigorous due diligence process in his hearing also, and in the course of answering over 900 questions for the record that were asked by members of this committee. In response to members of the committee, Mr. Kennedy has even amended his ethics agreement, going beyond what is required by the Government Office of Ethics. Mr. Kennedy has proven his commitment to the role of Secretary of the HHS, and I will vote in favor of his nomination. I strongly encourage my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to do the same. And with that, I recognize our ranking member, Senator Wyden, for his remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll have a brief statement, and then several of my colleagues on our side are also going to make brief statements. This morning, we're going to vote on Robert Kennedy's nomination to serve as our nation's chief healthcare officer. Before we get to Mr. Kennedy, and why I believe he is singularly unfit to serve as HHS Secretary, I'd like to say this. The last several days we've witnessed an authoritarian takeover of our federal government by Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They have set their sights on a full purge of anyone in government that doesn't bend the knee and follow their orders. They've taken over the Treasury Department's payment system. And colleagues, that has
they want to make, I think Chuck Schumer called him the shadow government or something. Now Trump and the people, Doge, are the shadow government. Right, sure, okay. We believe you, sir. We trust you. No problem.
Direct effect on major programs within our committee's jurisdiction.
And as has been pointed out, these programs are not working. What they've been doing is not working. Taking care of our children is not working. What they are doing is killing our kids, is killing our people. And these people just want to remain, everything to remain status quo. Can't have it.
That includes Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. For example, this committee voted for a major reform of pharmacy benefit manager legislation. We passed it 26-0, but Trump and Musk killed it. Think what they could do with abuse of the payment system. Now, in my view, much of this is of dubious legality and constitutional authority, and certainly flies in face of congressional responsibilities. I'll wrap up on this point by saying I hope our colleagues on the other side of the aisle will not sit by while Musk and Trump make a mockery of the power Republicans hold in their congressional majority. Now more than ever, the American people need leaders that will stand up to these abuses. That brings me to Mr. Kennedy. A recent analysis showed that Mr. Kennedy has made 114 separate appearances in just the last 4 years where he has espoused anti-vaccine views or spread information
They don't
about
care.
the efficacy.
They do not care that Kennedy has written books that said that he's not anti-vax. They don't care that Kennedy has made it very clear that all of his children are vaccinated. They don't care about that. They don't care that he says clearly he is not anti-vax. They still run with the gaslighting that Kennedy is anti-vax. For them, it's not about the truth. If they cared about the truth, they would say, okay, well, you've said you're anti-vax now. Okay, but then you would go back and you would see all of the times where what they're calling anti-vax, Kennedy is not anti-vax. He is for vaccine safety, and that's a big difference. Anti-vax and vaccine safety are not the same. I lean more towards the anti-vax, but vaccine safety is common sense, and we need that, whether we agree with vaccinating or not. And of course, what types of vaccination, how many vaccinations, all that is very, very important to consider when we think about what our views are. But for them to keep smearing and labeling Kennedy as anti-vax when he is clearly not anti-vax just shows exactly who these people are, and they do not care about the health of our children. If they did, they would understand. They can still disagree with him on these views, but to keep labeling him as anti-vax is just complete nonsense. It's a complete lie. And they do it because they know that there are some people out there who will trust them, who will believe what they say. And if they say Kennedy's anti-vax, then they'll say Kennedy's anti-vax. That's all they need.
Of vaccines, misinformation specifically.
That's what they're
36 of those instances,
misinformation.
Mr. Kennedy directly linked vaccines to autism.
It is.
Last week, Mr. Kennedy was given ample authority on a bipartisan basis to recant his decades-long career peddling anti-vaccine conspiracies. Instead, he spent his time with us dodging and weaving and gave no indication.
And it's not like these people have a vested interest in being pro-vax, big pharma, because big pharma gives all of them money. But
that if confirmed as HHS secretary, he would stand by the long settled science surrounding routine vaccinations.
The long settled sciences, that's another big one. They want to say the science is done, the debate is over, when we know that's not how science works. Even somebody like me who doesn't know that much about science understands science is ever debatable, it's ever changing, it should always be challenged. That's what makes the best science so great.
Just take the Samoa measles outbreak as an example.
Going back to
Mr. Kennedy told me, and I quote, "We don't know what was killing them," speaking about the 83 measles deaths during an outbreak of the disease in 2019. Just yesterday, colleagues, the Director General of Health from Samoa called this claim a total fabrication.
I'm sure they're not buying.
Peddling these conspiracy theories as the nation's chief health officer is going to be deadly for kids across the country.
I'm sure they're on the
abortion, Mr. Kennedy's answers once again raised still more questions. He refused to tell us whether he would blindly follow a directive from Donald Trump to break the law and end access to mifepristone. And he seemed to have no understanding of his role in enforcing existing federal laws that guarantee women the right to life-saving abortion care.
Not according.
Mr. Kennedy also failed.
Well, the abortion thing is now back in the hands of the state. It's not up to the federal government any longer. The states now have to take responsibility for killing babies now. It's on them. And Kennedy is going to respect that, and Trump is respecting that. So why wouldn't Kennedy? So these guys just have, and they know what they're doing. These are smart people. They wouldn't get to this level without having some level of knowledge, whether it's devious, snake oil salesman knowledge. They know exactly what they're doing and why.
On several occasions, to show a basic understanding of the Medicare and Medicaid programs he would be tasked with overseeing. Colleagues, that alone should be disqualifying. Mr. Kennedy has given us no reason to believe there'll be anything other than a rubber stamp for plans to gut Medicaid and rip healthcare away from the American people, and be a yes man if ordered by Musk or Trump to take an illegal action.
Oh, by must too.
I close with this, colleagues.
You can do it.
Today, we're going to make a judgment about the future
You
of
must.
science in this country. We're going to make decisions that are going to impact the health and well-being of Americans for years to come. I agree, and I say this to my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, that the healthcare status quo needs substantial changes so we get better, more affordable care to patients. And that leaves, given my statement, the question in front of us now.
He doesn't want to tackle the real issue. He doesn't want to go after what is the real problem here. He just wants to put a Band-Aid on it and say, well, people need more. We need to get access to more medicines, more pharmaceutical medicines. That is the answer. Instead of figuring out what is causing this, he just wants to put a little Band-Aid on it and continue on. It's wild. It's wild. I don't know what to say about that. I do, but I won't.
That's pretty simple. Do senators want their legacy to include disregarding basic health science and instead elevate conspiracy theorists? Making Robert Kennedy Secretary of Health and Human Services, in my view, colleagues, would be a grave threat to the health of the American people. And I urge my colleagues this morning to vote no. Yeah, we're going to do it.
So Senator Wyden, we have all of our members here. Senator Wyden and I have agreed that we will have 2 or 3 on each side who wanted to make statements, do so before the vote. So please, everyone, hold with us while we have those statements made, and then we will proceed to the vote. I know we've got a lot of folks here pushing on some. Do you want to vote now?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I've got several colleagues who were under the impression after we talked that we would have 2 or 3, and I'm happy for both sides to make brief remarks, and I'd still like to stay with that.
I did make that commitment. And so I could say to my colleagues on my side, I would appreciate it if you would hold your remarks until after the vote. We will let a couple on your side have their remarks, and then we will proceed to the vote.
Great, thank you.
And who would be next?
Senator Cantwell.
Senator Cantwell.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I didn't, when you said 2 or 3 people, I didn't know who you had in mind, but being next in seniority, I appreciate the opportunity. Today is very concerning to me because of the future of what I think our nation faces. When I think of this issue, I think of my Pacific Northwest leadership, how Paul Allen on his own invested $100 million to fight Ebola. I think of Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation, not just trying to eradicate polio and work on these issues, but to think of a regime that helps not just our nation's health, but global health. So with the UW, the University of Washington, the Cancer Research Center, all of these entities are a collaboration of saying we have to go faster in solving these threats to our nation as it relates to health. Now, we can have a big discussion, which I think you guys all want to have a big discussion about whether and when what happened in the Wuhan province. But I can tell you, we were the first city. We had the first patient. We had the first people who died in nursing homes. We had an emergency room at a hospital who basically was just begging for any equipment we could get them. The whole community stood up and moved as fast as we possibly could and broke down barriers to save lives. And that is what we have to continue to do on innovation. We cannot let another country get ahead of us on some sort of warfare issue and not have a response when it comes to a vaccine. So the most challenging, I wanted to vote for Mr. Kennedy in the context of my family's history. My dad stood behind his father the night.
This lady, these guys, they're a complete sellout. She thanked Bill Gates and thanked all the same cast of characters, all the people that have brought us these vaccines that have not made the world safer, that have not made America healthy again or great again. She's thanking them. They're doing a great job apparently to this lady. This is wild. It's really wild what they're doing. How disgusting. But again, I don't know. It's a complete sellout.
His father gave the
So
famous
what they're
speech.
going to do here, and by the way, Kennedy did pass. It's just been announced that Kennedy did pass the committee vote. So next week, this will go to a full vote in the Senate. So this is awesome news. This is great news. Kennedy has officially passed the committee vote. I'm not sure exactly what the vote was. I heard 14 to 13. It may have been close. But now, next week, this will go to the full Senate. We're so close now. We are so close. And we must vote for Kennedy. We must. All right, let's listen to some of this. Let's see what she's saying.
I told him in my office, in my family, the Kennedys stood up. But
the only Kennedy that's standing up right now is RFK Jr. The rest have all laid down and sat down, and this lady is sitting down right on their a-hole.
when he answered Senator Cassidy's question, and he couldn't even give him the answer that, yes, the data is there to support vaccines today. I don't need any more data. All of a sudden, I saw this world that we got affected by in Seattle not being stood up for. I need someone at HHS who is going to say, we're going to be a leader in medical technology, science, vaccines. We are going to fight foreign powers. We are going to be there to provide global health. And
Kennedy is going to do exactly what she wants. She's going to see, and she has not been doing anything of what she wants to see from the HHS leader. What has she done for this country? What are people like her who are standing in the way of people like RFK Jr., people who want to understand what happened, not just to say the science is done, we know what happened, let's move on. No, it's not done. It's clearly not done. Everything Kennedy has been saying, he's right on.
I don't want a recalcitrant. I need a leader, and that is why I'm voting no.
Thank you.
Vote you out. And I'm hoping Nicole Shanahan will get a bunch of people to help vote this WHO out.
Senator Wyden and I have agreed that Senator Warnock will now speak. Following Senator Warnock, we will proceed to the vote, and then anyone else who wants to make remarks will be allowed to make remarks. Senator Warnock.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Chairman. At a rally a few months ago, Donald Trump said that he was going to allow Mr. Robert Kennedy to, quote, go wild on health.
Yeah.
Go wild. Of all the things that I can think of that I'd like to see a Secretary of Health and Human Services do, go wild is not on the list. Mr. Robert Kennedy is manifestly unqualified for the job he seeks. And in both my live and written questions for the record, he failed to commit to protecting access to affordable health care, failed to commit to protecting the people who are protecting us. The problem that the CDC has is that every day these noble civil servants and workers protect us from dangers that we don't see. And often you don't get credit for protecting people from things that they don't see. I simply do not trust him to oversee the CDC. He's unqualified, and I dare say everybody here knows it.
Wow.
We need a serious person at the helm of the HHS, an agency responsible for about half of the health of about half of all Americans. Mr. Kennedy appears more obsessed in chasing conspiracy theories than chasing solutions to lower healthcare costs for working families in Georgia and to make sure that we are protected. The last thing we need is a dilettante dabbling in conspiracy theories.
That's enough of these guys.
Interest to by sober judge. on that. American business
So they said that
to
after
a better
the
future.
vote,
Thank you.
then the Republicans will get to speak. So let's see.
Thank you, Senator Welch.
Let's see what that is.
That concludes the remarks that senators have requested to make, and hearing nothing further, I'd like to thank all of our members for attending. This Finance Committee stands adjourned.
I guess that's it for now. For that, but here is the great news. We cut over here to this. The Senate panel advances RFK Jr. HHS nomination. There we go. We're right on our way. We're, like I said, we're so close now. So close. So let's hear what this thing is saying. This is probably
office a short time ago, and he's now headed in to meet the incoming Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who is really going to be critical in unifying the conference around what will be a tough nomination. On his way into Senator Hawley's office, I asked him how his meetings on Capitol Hill were going. Take a listen. Mr. Kennedy, Kilmeny Dupert with Newsmax. How are the meetings going today?
Very well.
I don't know when this
Of course, Kennedy has faced an onslaught of questions from reporters, particularly about the notion that he intends to revoke approval of the exposure to harmful chemicals.
The polio vaccination. That's one that's different. You go to the base of where the vaccine.
Senators in at least a number of states to reject his nomination, including.
Let's get to the what happened today. RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the controversial environmental lawyer, I don't know why he's so controversial, turned public. When did health and when did good science and when did making America healthy again become so controversial? For some, obviously, not for everybody, just for some reason. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the controversial environmental lawyer turned public health critic, cleared his first hurdle on Tuesday to become the nation's top health official when the Senate Finance Committee voted to advance his nomination for a floor vote. Republicans voted together to advance his nomination, while Democrats all opposed. That's good. That's really good. That means it's a tight ship, but that's okay. His nomination now will face a full Senate vote, despite concerns about the work he's done to sow doubts around vaccine safety and his potential to profit off lawsuits over drug makers. This is ridiculous. Come on, these Max, like a little better than this. To profit off drug lawsuits over drug makers. I mean, suing. They were like, well, you're going to stop suing. Are you going to, like, he's not going to stop suing these people. He's got lawsuits going on right now. He's not going to drop them. And sow doubts around vaccine safety. He's not doing that. He's actually, what Kennedy is doing is helping vaccine safety, because Kennedy is all about vaccine safety. Again, he's not anti-vax. They can keep saying it, but the people who have researched Kennedy, the people who understand what Kennedy is all about, they know better. They know Kennedy is not anti-vax. He is about vaccine safety. Once again, there is a very, very big difference. That difference is something that it takes a somewhat bright person to understand that, but you don't have to be too bright to understand what this is. And anyways, let me go back and read some of this. So, to gain control of the 1. I don't know that's fine. Okay. Sorry. Let me go back and read it. To gain control of the $1.7 trillion Health and Human Services Agency. What's going on? I'm going to check my microphone. Yeah, switch back. Okay. I don't know if that was always like that. Hopefully not. The audio should be better now. Okay, let me go back here. To gain control, I'm going to start over read the whole thing here. The Senate panel advances RFK Jr.'s HHS nomination. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the controversial environmental lawyer turned public health critic, cleared his first hurdle on Tuesday to become the nation's top health official when the Senate Finance Committee voted to advance his nomination for a floor vote. Republicans voted together to advance his nomination while Democrats all opposed. His nomination now will face a full Senate vote, despite concerns about the work he's done to sow doubts about vaccine safety and his potential to profit off lawsuits over drug makers. So the profiting off of lawsuits, meaning as a lawyer, lawyers usually get paid. And he has said that he will not make $1 off of those lawsuits. And he said that he donates that money somewhere. So they're like, oh, they had to drop that, had to go with something else. When all of the senators, all of the Democrat senators up there who were questioning him, who were criticizing him, they were all getting money through donations, which they can't control. You can't control who donates to you, but through donations, they were getting record-setting numbers of millions of dollars from the big pharma companies. They must just like them. And I wonder why. Because he's sowing, but Kennedy won't get that because he's sowing doubts around vaccine safety. And even though all he wants to do is make vaccines safe. And all these other people want to do is say, nope, we're not, everything's fine. Don't even worry about it. Vaccines are safe. Let's move on. Let's not do any studies. Let's not be critical of it. Let's not do our due diligence and continue to make sure. If they truly believe that vaccines are safe, then there shouldn't be any issue with the ever recurring criticism of the vaccines. The vaccines, if they're so good, should be able to stand on their own. If there's something wrong with them or if they are causing harm, we should be able to have that debate in a very respectful way. So to gain control of the $1.7 trillion Health and Human Services Agency, wow, that's a lot of them, Kennedy will need support from all but 3 Republicans if Democrats uniformly oppose him. Senator Bill Cassidy, Republican of Louisiana, who is also a physician and sits on the Finance Committee, voted to advance Kennedy's confirmation. Thank God. Last week, during Kennedy's hearings, Cassidy repeatedly implored Kennedy to reject a disproven theory that vaccines cause autism, to no avail. He ended the hearing by saying he was struggling with the vote. Your past undermining confidence in vaccines with unfounded or misleading arguments concerns me, Cassidy told Kennedy. Republican Senators Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and Mitch McConnell of Kentucky are all seen as potential no votes too because they voted against President Donald Trump's defense secretary nominee and have expressed concerns about Kennedy's anti-vaccine work. In a CBS 60 Minutes interview that aired Sunday, McConnell declined to say how he would vote on Kennedy's nomination, but reiterated vaccines are critically important. And if they're critically important, then let's make sure that we have safe vaccines. That's all Kennedy is talking about. It's been so far on the other side where they just want to bully you into taking the vaccines. Vaccines are safe, but you got to have this balance. That's what the government does. That's what the 3 branches of government are supposed to do. They're supposed to balance out each other. We need that in our science. We need that in our vaccine studies. We need that in these type of things that are so critical when we're talking about giving something and putting and injecting it into your child. You want to make sure that it's safe, that it's more than safe. And you want to make sure that if something happens, that people can be held accountable. That there's not just this thing where, well, if something happens, then these big companies who create this drug, who create the vaccine, cannot be liable. They can't have it both ways. If you trust your product, you need to be able to take responsibility for it if something goes wrong. That's what Kennedy does when he sues these big drug companies. But some of these companies that are exempt from being sued, those are the ones who are having a really, really difficult time here because they obviously don't believe in their product. If they did, this would not be such a big deal. And these Democrat senators and probably the Republican senators too are getting a lot of pressure because of where their donations come from, because of where their funding for their seats in Congress come from. But Nicole Shanahan has a very powerful message that I really want to cover next. I still got about maybe 40 minutes before I need to drop off here. So I will continue on, but this is a very important issue, and this is not something that should just be thrown out and the science is done, it's over. No, we should be constantly reviewing the science and reviewing and discussing it and letting the real scientists have this debate and not silencing them. All right. It seems possible that many different types of vaccine-related decisions and communications, which you would be empowered to make and influence as secretary, could result in significant financial compensation for your family. Democrat Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Ron Wyden of Oregon wrote in a letter sent over the weekend to Kennedy. Kennedy said he'll give his sons all of the referral fees in legal cases against vaccine makers, including the fees he gets from referring clients in a case against Merck. Kennedy told the committee he's referred hundreds of clients to a law firm that's suing Merck's Gardasil, the human papillomavirus vaccine that prevents cervical cancer. He's earned $2.5 million from the deal over the past 3 years. Gee, well, a lawyer earning money, how dare they? And Congress just sits on their butt and takes donations and takes government money and just it's a complete waste. They don't have real jobs. Anyways, real 9-to-5 jobs. Well, I don't know. Maybe there's a debate for that. Maybe I'm having an internal debate as I say that. Kennedy, a longtime Democrat, ran for president but withdrew last year to throw his support to Trump in exchange for an influential job in his Republican administration. Together, they have forged a new and unusual coalition made up of conservatives who oppose vaccines and liberals who want to see the government promote healthier foods. Trump and Kennedy have branded the movement as Make America Healthy Again. This is not, I mean, this is mothers, this is families, this is made up of people who have watched their family members die from these vaccines, who have watched their family members die because of vaccine safety, because people were focused more on the drugs than they were focused on actually figuring out what causes these cancers. How do we get rid of them instead of just treating them? Right? You want to stop the illness at its core. You want to cut the snake off at the head, and that's not what a lot of these people want to do. They just want to give you a pill for it and say, go on and just wait until you're dead. Wait to die. It's wild. All right. I guess that's it. Okay, that's the whole news article there. So that was pretty good. I'll see if there's anything else in that area, but I did want to just replay a little bit of Nicole Shanahan, which I thought was really good, what she had said. Nice little interview here that she did. A warning, really, is what it is. She's warning these people, if you do this, if you try to go against Kennedy, she's got a pretty strong warning for you. Let me see if I can play this here, because it is a very, very powerful warning there. Hello, how are you? Greetings and welcome. Lots of mothers, lots of family members, lots of people are very concerned about these vaccines, about the drug companies, and about just remaining as the status quo. But it's so great to know that next week there will be a vote, a full Senate vote, and we will see if Kennedy will finally become the Secretary of HHS, and can we make America healthy again. I'm going to play a little bit of this. This is a warning from Nicole Shanahan. It's really good.
Our next guest has a pretty simple message to senators from both parties if they oppose RFK Jr.
Bobby may be willing to play nice. I won't. If you vote against him, I will personally fund challengers to primary you in your next election, and I will enlist hundreds of thousands to join me.
You recall Nicole Shanahan was RFK Jr.'s running mate in his run for the presidency when he ran as an independent. She was his vice presidential running mate, and she joins me now. Nicole, great to see you today. What did you think of the hearing? What did you think of the performance by both the senators and RFK?
RFK did a great job, and I just want everybody to know that the MAGA unity movement is very, very strong in the United States right now. Arguably, it is the largest movement in the world, and it is what catapulted President Trump back into the White House, and it is fully behind RFK Jr.'s confirmation. And so watching the senators at work today, I just have to say thank you to Senator Ron Johnson. I got many text messages from moms across America who were in tears to hear his earnest support of RFK Jr.'s confirmation. And I do also want to make it clear that, yes, we are watching every one of these votes, every senator's actions, every word that came out of their mouths. And there are hundreds of thousands that are mobilized to take action during primary season.
Good.
Well, the opinion that you shared is backed up by the stats that the unification between MAHA and MAGA is backed up by this Fox poll. 48% of voters would vote for RFK Jr. for his HHS secretary. That's the highest, by the way, of any of the Trump nominees to cabinet positions. So it's clear, as you point out, that RFK supporters helped win Donald Trump the presidency. But I'm not sure that's going to be heard or listened to by every Republican senator. You, in your video, you named names, and you said you would be dropping money to primary those senators.
That's correct. I listed 13, but really we're watching all of these seats. We're at a point now, we're at a breaking point in America. You're either still working on behalf of big ag, big pharma, and big business, or you are working on behalf of the people. And there is a contract that each of these senators has with the people, not with these corporations, but with the people. And we are watching who is going against that contract, who is breaching it. The people will not stand for this any longer, and we want change. We want a leader. Bobby is that leader. He went out there. He took those slings and arrows for all of us today, and we're very grateful, and we stand behind him.
Amen.
Nicole, I want to put up his resume, all the things that RFK Jr. has done throughout his career. He's 71 years old. He's founded Waterkeeper Alliance. He founded Children's Health Defense Fund, which came up today in the hearing. At one point, he was named Time Magazine's Hero for the Planet. You elected to join him in his race for the presidency, and here you are with me right now talking about this moment where he could take over his HHS. Why? Why are you so passionate about RFK?
Well, I, like millions of Americans, want healthy food, healthy medicine, and a healthy planet. I want to watch my child grow up healthy. I don't want these numbers of parents that are burying their own children is far too high. That number increases year after year. There's no greater tragedy than watching your child suffer, than having to bury your own child. I've heard from hundreds of thousands of these parents across America. It has to stop.
That's very sad.
You pointed out in your video. I can hear your passion. I can hear it in your voice. I really can, Nicole.
Yeah,
I think you've also backed it up with your pocketbook, as you pointed out in your video. In 2020, you and I might have been on opposite sides of several outcomes in politics. You helped fund John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock get those 2 seats in Georgia. Now, today, in that video, you're saying you'll do the opposite if they vote against RFK Jr. You'll dedicate that same passion money to primarying all of those senators. Nicole, it's a real pleasure to have you and to hear that real, genuine passion from you today.
Thank you,
Nicole.
Thank you, Al.
Well, there it is, and you could hear it in her voice, where she's very, very passionate about this. And my view on Nicole Shanahan has changed. When RFK Jr. announced her as his VP pick, I was like, I had no idea who she was. And I really still don't. But what I'm seeing from her, I am really liking. By their actions, by their fruit, we will know them. So she did really great there. I thought this was pretty powerful, and I believe her. From what I hear, she's a pretty rich lady, so then she'll stop at nothing. She may make a great governor in California, by the way, one day. I believe Gavin Newsom just got served with some recall papers, so maybe that will be coming up. And I do want to thank you, Eve. I really appreciate your help, and yeah, keep up the great work. All part of the Dark Docs Digest crew here. Everybody working to do what they can do to make this country great again. And hey, if you ever want to come on sometime here, you're always welcome. I'm going to be on here for about maybe another 30 minutes before I start work. Don't tell my boss. So, but yeah, so, and I'm sure Christian Coffins will be on later this evening. Hopefully he'll be covering some of this. Hopefully he'll at least mention this. I'm sure he will. He covers a lot of different things on Dark Docs Digest. And I will, let me see if I can actually find a link for that for anyone who is not subscribed to it, who is not watching it. Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific time on the Sacred Owls channel. I believe on the Sacred Owls channel. I believe so. Oh no, Dark Docs. Why am I not subscribed? See, this happens a few times too, where I'll be subscribed to something and then you go and you look and you're like, oh, I'm not subscribed anymore. So I'm going to actually put in the chat the link to the Dark Docs Digest playlist here. Is this the one? It must be. He must be on the Sacred Owls channel, because I am not seeing it. Yeah, it must be on the Sacred Owls one. Okay, that's why I didn't see it. I was wondering why. So let me go to that Sacred Owls one. I'm not subscribed there either for some reason. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but I am going to share this link. Does he have the playlist for this? Dark Doc Digest. He does have the playlist. Okay, so I'm going to share the playlist for anyone who wants to subscribe or watch or get caught up on the past shows Monday through Thursday on Christian Coffins. And you can join us. I'm usually in the chat too, but I did put that in the live chat here for anyone who wants to go and look at that and subscribe to Dark Docs Digest. It's just a great way after work to just chill out, grab a glass of wine like myself, and just watch and listen to what happens. So, okay, so it does look like, of course, they're going to come on in about 10 minutes. In about 10 minutes, Senator Cassidy, a doctor, votes for RFK Jr., shows support. So the Republicans are supposed to get their chance to speak about the nomination. So maybe I will hang on a little bit longer to hear some of the Republican remarks. I couldn't take the Democrats. I know, we already know.
We're here celebrating my birthday.
We know what they're going to say. RFK Jr. is bad. He's anti-vax. He's a conspiracy theorist. I think people are just tired of it.
We should talk about it the way it's always been done in America.
I don't know.
In the halls of Congress, in the public forums of the people's government. That's what the founding fathers wanted.
This is live too. There's no way to make it unlive. Oh,
if the founding fathers were to be like Doge, a small group of them would get together and just.
So yeah, he's talking about Doge. Yeah, we know what's going on there.
If the founding fathers were to be like Doge, a small group of them would get together and just dictate what should have been done in America. It didn't. They set up a Congress.
It's advancing to the new vote. This is
they
great.
Set up debate.
Good stuff.
And the American people, mark my words, the American people will not stand for an unelected secret group.
Secret group, yeah, I love this.
Rampant through the executive branch.
This dude is too much.
Being innovative is good. But Mr. Musk, this isn't a tech start.
Okay,
He is reporting that the president is expected to watch a documentary of Hamas's October 7th tragedies, and that Steve Witkoff has actually recommended he watch that before he meets with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Do you know if he's seen that documentary?
I have not heard that report, nor have I been made aware if the president has seen that or not, but I can check. And as for Mr. Witkoff, I think you'll be hearing from him out here today. We're going to try to make him available to talk to the press.
Right. And also just about China and the tariffs. One, is there any update on when the president is expected to speak with President Xi, and also any reaction to their 10 to 15% tariffs that they now imposed in retaliation?
I don't have any updates on when that call will take place. As you heard from the president yesterday, it is being scheduled and will happen very soon. But the president made it very clear with the 10% tariff on China that he is not going to allow China to continue to source and distribute deadly fentanyl into our country. That was the reason for this tariff. It was a retaliatory tariff on China for the last 4 years of their unprecedented distribution of fentanyl into our nation's borders. So when that call happens, we will provide a readout like we always do.
And also, go ahead.
What do you expect from Netanyahu's visit? Why isn't the president confident that the truth will out?
Well, I think you'll hear more from both President Trump and the Prime Minister later this afternoon. And I think the fact that this is the first working visit from a foreign leader here at the White House shows that President Trump will continue to stand strongly with Israel, and he is wholeheartedly committed to ensuring all of the hostages return home and standing with our Israeli allies. Thank you.
RFK Jr. faces a critical vote today. Do you have any, how are you guys feeling about his vote, his confidence?
We expect him to be confirmed, and he should be. He's brilliant. He's widely respected, and the president campaigned alongside him, Make America Healthy Again. That is a very popular slogan, and it's a very popular movement in this country. And there's tens of millions of Americans who are hopeful that RFK Jr. will be the next HHS secretary, and we expect all Senate Republicans to stand tough and strong and vote for him.
What do we expect from Trump in China today?
Cool. We like it. All right. Still looking at, looks like at some point they are going to have some commentary, I'm hoping. Some comments about the support for RFK Jr. I don't know if that's going to happen. Hopefully it does happen live. But for now, I do want to go a little bit back to Nicole Shanahan. She did an interview recently with the man here, Senator Rand Paul. So I'm going to play a little bit of that. I have not watched it. Every time I go to try to watch it, I get sidetracked with
We are all
everything.
hoping that the old way of doing business in Washington is over and that the status quo has ended. We are entering what could be a new era in our country. So with much happening in the nation's capital, I wanted to expand beyond our weekly hour-long podcast to bring you short chats with key players in Washington, from the Senate to the House to President Trump's administration. These discussions will dive into the latest on legislation that's making its way through Congress and the efforts within the administration to drive the MAHA agenda forward. I want to bring these back to you, the American people. Joining me today is Senator Rand Paul, one of the nation's leading advocates for liberty, constitutional rights, and fiscal responsibility. Also importantly, he is the son of the legendary Dr. Ron Paul. Today, we discuss Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s hearing this week on Capitol Hill, and we also discuss an upcoming investigation into Anthony Fauci and the implications of Fauci accepting Biden's preemptive pardon. First of all, thank you so much for everything you do, Senator Paul. It's a real pleasure to sit down with you. We actually haven't met, and you've been one of the most vocal investigators on the COVID crisis. I mean, there's so many areas of crisis. So this is just a quick check-in with you. It's a part of a new series we're doing, 20-minute segments with those in Washington, just to give people a heads up of where things are. And today we heard RFK Jr.'s confirmation hearing. And, you know, certain Republican U.S. senators are really hesitant to support Bobby's confirmation. What do you think about those senators after today? And do you think any of the confirmation hearing assuaged some of his concerns?
You know, I hope all Republicans and maybe even a few Democrats will be open-minded, will listen to him. I've been impressed every time I've met him of how informed he is, how analytical he is, how he looks at each problem, and also how sincere he is. I think it's disappointing to me to see how, I guess, mean-spirited Democrats were towards him when, you know, he spent probably the first 20 or 30 years of his adult life fighting to clean up water, you know, fighting to clean up the Hudson River. And they give him nothing for that. You know, it's amazing. I don't agree with everything Bobby Kennedy's for, but for goodness sakes, wouldn't you think people on the left who say they like the environment would at least give the guy credit for spending 30 years of his life cleaning up the Hudson River, and not a peep, not not a scintilla of understanding for that. And that to me is disappointing, and it kind of is that, oh, everything breaks down partisan. We're not going to like him anymore because he supported President Trump in the election. But there's also many other things that I think are worth discussing. There's been this attitude in public health that public health should be some guy with, that's armed and tells you what to do. And if you don't do what the public health person tells you, we're going to put you in jail, instead of what it traditionally was, which was persuasion. So most of what I see Bobby Kennedy's role, if he gets the position, will be to persuade us, tell America, some of the facts. I mean, in his opening, he talked about 70% of Americans are overweight. Diabetes has increased tenfold, in the last 30 or 40 years, the type 2 diabetes that's related to weight. And I think this should be an all-out, full court press on what are we going to do to make America healthy again. And Republicans and Democrats could come together on this, but instead they're very intent on nitpicking and looking for disagreement instead of trying to find common ground. I still think he can make it through with Republican votes, but it's close. There may be 2 or 3 Republicans that we could possibly lose. On the Secretary of Defense, it was 50-50 and required the Vice President. I hope it doesn't require that, but I'm all for his nomination, and I'm all for the president sticking with him and the vice president coming in if necessary.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for sticking with him. The first thing my fiance said to me this morning as we were watching it was he looked over at me and he says, I don't think you hate these Democrats enough based on their line of questioning, their attitude, their complete disregard for the impact of what they were saying, and the fact that millions of Americans were hearing these words and hearing these unfounded criticisms of a guy who has given his life to the Democratic Party up until just recently. So, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot right now because MAGA and MAHA, they're bipartisan. It's now a unity movement. And they're shooting themselves in their foot. The Democrats are going to lose so many more supporters, I think, after today. My second question for you. So we have Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel coming up. Do you think they're going to face equal opposition as Bobby saw today? Do you think it's going to be slightly smoother for either one of them?
I think it'll be close. I think Kash Patel of the 3 may have the easiest route, but Democrats don't like him either. But he might have a slightly easier route. All 3 are going to be very, very close. On Tulsi Gabbard, once again, the people disrespecting her are completely discounting a 20-year history in the military, a woman who's done very well in a field that's been dominated by men, but she's a lieutenant colonel. She served her country honorably. And really, frankly, as far as thinking about foreign policy and thinking about intelligence, we need people who are skeptical of surveillance powers being used on U.S. citizens. And frankly, I think people misunderstand. There's this program called the 702 program, the FISA warrant program. And I don't want to give Tulsi's position, but I would say my position, and I've been very skeptical of it, is I don't mind if you use surveillance on foreigners in foreign countries, but I think Americans deserve more. And our Constitution provided more protections. It provided the 4th Amendment. And the problem with the way the data is collected now is, let's say you're an international businessman or woman and you talk to people in Europe, or maybe you are a politician and I talk to a reporter that's stationed in the Middle East. What if that reporter then has contacts and they've talked to somebody in Hamas as a source? Well, now I'm somehow connected to a reporter who's connected to a Hamas source. Does that mean you get to listen to all my phone calls?
Yeah.
Or let's say something has been said in one of my phone calls that you suspect me of a domestic, like a tax evasion or something like that. Do you have the right to do that without a warrant because you're snooping on my phone calls? We should all not want that to happen. But more than that, it even happened for partisan reasons. When Trump ran the first time in 2016, they tapped the phones of his assistants, of Carter Page and Papadopoulos. And by doing that, they weren't spies. They were accused falsely by people of being connected to the Russians or this and that. In the end, it was all disproven. But even if it were true, we have a way to go after criminals. Even the worst in our society, someone who's accused of the worst crime, murder or rape or anything, something that no one absolutely is for that person, we still demand you go to an impartial judge.
Okay, I'm just gonna put it on hold right there for a second. A few things to cover as we still wait for a few words from some of the senators to talk about RFK Jr. So looks like they're still not talking about Kennedy yet. Do you want to hear that? But I'm not hearing it. Talk about Pam Biondi right now. So while we're waiting for that, I guess I will just talk a little bit about RFK Jr. Some things that I do want to talk about. Let me see if I can. No, no. Okay, that's all right. So a few books that I have picked up. I just started reading this one, The War on Ivermectin. I'm only about 40 pages in. This is really good. This is really good because my next book will be kind of a memoir about the early days of COVID. I was trying to document it in real time as it was happening, and that was a fun little project that I ended up saying, oh, I could turn this into a book, and then I got sidetracked with some other books, but at some point I will go back to it. And this doctor does cover a lot of that stuff that happened during those early days and how ivermectin um, could cure the world, the medicine that saved millions and could have ended the pandemic. So I'm only about 40 pages into that. Great book though. I know if you get Amazon has it on sale right now. It's like $13, $15 or something. I got a really good price on it, so I bought that one. I want to talk about some of Kennedy's books that we have here. A Letter to Liberals. It's tiny. It's a small one, but it's a cool one. There's a free PDF too. If anybody wants a free PDF, it is on my website. What is Truth? 911.wordpress.com. I should get it onto Christian Coffin, onto Dark Docs network at some point. This needs to be there, but you can get the PDF free. But this is a really great book. A Letter to Liberals from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Censorship and COVID: An Attack on Science and American Ideals. I really enjoyed that. I believe this was not Kennedy's first book, but this is one of his first books called The River Keepers. And as you heard Senator Rand Paul, talking about Kennedy, this is one of Kennedy's first early books. And this is where Kennedy really got his environmental start here, protecting our rivers. So he started out as a river keeper. This book was written like back in the 90s. Let me see exactly when. And he had a falling out with them, of course, over something. Yeah, 1997, it looks like, was when this was published here. But this is a great one. I enjoyed that one, The River Keepers. This is one of the few Kennedy books that I have not read yet, Crimes Against Nature. How George W. Bush and his corporate pals are plundering the country and hijacking our democracy. And I think Al Gore does the foreword in this one, so that's tough. But you can see, just Kennedy has been very consistent in his environmental stance. This one is from 2004, so you can check that one out too. I have not read this one yet. I just bought it because it was a really good deal. Obviously, people probably know about this one, the Wuhan cover-up and the terrifying bioweapons arm race. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I'm about halfway through this one, and it's so hard because when you're writing a book and then you're reading, like you get so inspired and like, oh, okay, I got to get back to my book, and I really want to get my book, Kennedy and Trump. I want to get that done by the end of. I want to have that published by the summer, if not sooner. Just checking. Okay, so hopefully that will be done. But this is a great one. I look forward to reading this. Very textbooky, very textbooky. It's kind of like a follow-up to this one, obviously, The Real Anthony Fauci, which is Kennedy's big selling book. This one is awesome. I learned so much from this because I had no idea who Anthony Fauci was. No idea who this person was, and I was like, what? And the more I read this book, I was like, why would Trump put this guy there? What would make him do that? And then I went back and I watched, and you can see that as Trump getting closer to 2020 and closer to 2021, I should say, you see less of Anthony Fauci standing behind President Trump or speaking there. And then once Biden gets in, steals office, once Biden is there, then you start seeing a lot more Anthony Fauci. So Trump has to take credit for that, for putting a guy like Anthony Fauci in this tough spot. But you can clearly see it's never going to happen again. And there was a reason why Biden had to give this guy a pardon. So that's a great book there. The audiobook is awesome too. But I learned so much about who Anthony Fauci, who the real Anthony Fauci was, how he was involved with the AIDS and the whole HIV and all that stuff. And it really reminded me, don't just trust the science. Science is ever changing, and science is we should always talk about it, and you should never say the science is completely conclusive and that's it. It's all done. And to the end. This is another great one, thimerosal. I have not read this one. Kennedy is the editor of this book here too. But this is another great book that I hope to read. Hey there, how are you? We got Kathleen.
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for joining me here. I was just going through some of these Kennedy books that I'm curious that I've read most of them. I haven't read all of them. Another one here, Unvaxxed, Let the Science Speak. And I think this is another great one where it just shows they keep saying, I don't know what your views are on Kennedy. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and on Trump too, and on everything that's happening in this country. But they keep calling Kennedy anti-vax. And I think Kennedy is just vaccine safety. That's his view on it. I lean more towards the anti-vax. But I think medical freedom is a big deal. What are your thoughts on this?
I just put on some headphones here so I can hear a little bit better.
Okay, cool.
Well, thank you for having me on this morning. I appreciate it very much. Well, I support him. I mean, I'm thinking that we got to give him a shot.
Give him a shot in the arm? No,
Give him
just kidding.
Give him an opportunity. It's always a mixed bag when you're looking at all these political characters, because we just really don't know the complete whole truth. He has been putting out a lot of information that's been really good, exposing a lot of the big pharma stuff. However, it just still kind of looks like big pharma and big money are in charge, on a lot of levels. All we can do is try to individually peacefully non-comply and peacefully non-participate, so that we can use our bodies and our minds as a vote against the deep state, against what I call the Khazarian mafioso, the Khazarian Zionists. Now, Kennedy, it's like the Democrats when they are questioning him. They want him to confess. They want him to admit. They want him to, proclaim, all on the backs of their handlers. They're just puppets up there trying to cause a lot of confusion. It's so sad because it's such a waste of our tax dollars. Such a show, dog and pony show, or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I didn't realize they're in charge. That Kennedy, if he will be confirmed, he'll be in charge the whole HHS. They're $1.7 trillion. Where is that money going? What are they doing with that? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, they have the printing machines. It's just printed money. It has no value, really. So
are you a big Ron Paul fan, or I almost said Ron Paul guy, but you're a woman, so Ron Paul woman.
Yeah, I'm very conservative, and I never used to be. I think a lot of us, when we were kids growing up, we were convinced automatically that the Democrat Party was the party to go for. And, I don't know. I think there's corrupt players on both sides of the party, but it's turning out, I mean, doesn't it look like, I was just thinking about this the other day, maybe yesterday even. It's two factions, maybe more, but there's like the satanic, baby eaters, the blood sacrificers, that kind of, pedophile. There's that side. And then it's like the good old oil boys in a way, like they're not baby eaters, since, blood sacrificers. I think that's kind of what we're looking at in a way. And the adrenochrome and all of the blood sacrifice. I mean, everything that we're seeing that has to do with death and blood is all part of the satanic blood sacrifice. All the killing of the chickens, the mass slaughter due to, the pandemic or the H5N1. It's all a bunch of crap. And yeah, it is decimating our food supply, and all of this stuff is contributing to a demise of the human factor, but also it's about blood sacrifice, because then they're, practicing their satanic worshiping, which is Hollywood and all that. I mean, that's a little off course, off topic, but
it's all part of the same thing. Is for me as a Christian, there's no way that I can separate. I know a lot of people want me to separate politics and religion and keep God out of this. And it's like, as a Christian, I just can't do it. It's all related, and the real enemy is the devil. And the devil has been doing. They've been doing human sacrifice. There are demons. All this stuff is real. We are on this physical world here. But to me, this is still very much a spiritual battle that really frees me to say everything here is temporary. So I'm not too concerned about, this physical body. I want to take care of my physical body while I'm here, obviously. But I understand that this is deeper than me, and that for some reason that frees me up to not be scared of all this crazy stuff, because there are a lot of crazy things out there, and these Satanists are real. It is a real thing.
Well, absolutely. It's good to hear you talk like that, because that is absolutely true. We counsel a lot of people, even though I'm not a counselor, but whenever I talk about the deeper aspect of everything, the end all, game all, however you want to talk about it, however you want to call it, the goal with everything is to get the human to choose corruption, get you to be fearful so that you secrete negative energy, which attracts demons. It's all part of getting us to generate and capturing and using that energy for their demonic practices, their satanic practices. And so, yes, it is. That's where we're at. It is a spiritual war, hands down, 100%. And the fact that you're able to connect to your source, to God, through your religion, is really what protects you. It's really the only thing. Not that religion protects a person, but any religion, this is why they use religion as a dividing factor. Any religion that is a path towards enlightenment, towards becoming a better human being, raising your frequency, all of that is part of the war. We have to choose, higher frequencies. It's interesting. It takes a very special kind of person like yourself to be able to deliver the information, understand.
I think your audio may have cut out.
To be an obedient, compliant worker that doesn't ask any questions. That's really what they want. And so that's why you have those people that are sitting there in these big rooms getting the jabs in their arms. The person next to them gets one, falls down, convulses,
Yeah.
is, drooling, dazed in the eyes. They come and take him away on a stretcher, and the person just sits there waiting for his jab in the arm. Don't you think a person would want to get up and go, whoa? No, I don't think so. I don't think this is a good idea. Maybe we'll reconsider this. No, they just sit there because they've been conditioned. They've had too many bioweapons in their bodies already through the jabs. That's all the jabs are bioweapons. It's the way it's always been. So that's all part of it. And I don't know if they're going to allow him to do what he wants to do, RFK Jr. I don't know how far he'll be able to get. It looks like a lot of things are happening. They're finding missing money. They are, pulling us out of the World Health Organization and, trying to get us more in line with Putin, with some of the other Christian countries. It's a big situation right now. And we are on the brink of nuclear war. We might even be seeing that now without it even being reported. Like some of these plane crashes, that one was it Philadelphia? It looked like it was a bomb, like a rocket.
Yeah. It looked like a missile, like a fireball, like a missile going straight down. It's like, wow, how does that happen? Can a plane decelerate, I guess? Can it go that fast that it's just burning like a missile on its way down? It was a medical plane. I think we're talking about the same one, but
I think
it's very, very strange. So is the helicopter one. And the fact that all these are happening at the same time looks very suspicious. And that should be something that it's okay to talk about. And you hear even some of the mainstream people kind of hint at it, like, wow, this looks weird. If I didn't know any better, it looks like a freaking missile hit the ground here. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. There is a lot happening here.
Well,
Lot going on.
We do know the Israelis have got bombs and other things buried here in the U.S., just ready to detonate, apparently, from what I've heard.
Like those pagers, like the pagers they detonated. That just all of a sudden, that was wild.
Yeah, if you look at everything that's going on, could it be the Zionists, the Khazarians are throwing their little temper tantrums, pulling through with some of their threats because a lot of the systems are being shut down.
Well, the president is meeting with Trump today. They're probably live now at some point, but I guess they're meeting today.
Well, they've let Netanyahu go wild, and he's getting away with genocide, and the United States is supporting that. I'm just not happy with the whole history of Israel right now and what they're doing, and I'm not in favor of Netanyahu. I think he's a very terrible person and has made a lot of bad mistakes against his people, crimes against other people and stuff. So, but it's a real hard one because I've got some clients. There's a lot of people that are real high-level Jewish people. They're really good Jews, really amazing Jewish people. But they think Rogue Scholars and Hillary Clinton and these people are good because they've been so indoctrinated in this Zionist Jewish, system that they have no idea. And they're allowed to get away with, Israel's allowed to get away with all of this because of that. So I'm not in favor of the Zionist fake Jews. I say that. They hate it when I talk like that. You are Zionist fake Jews. You're not a real Jew. You're Ashkenazi Jews. You're not Sephardic Jews. You have no Jewish blood. You have no Semite blood in you. And if you want to claim any of this stuff, you need to just belly up, get your blood taken, and prove that you actually have Semite blood. And if you don't, and just a mocker, you really are. And that's who I don't want in charge of our country. I want Americans. I want an American. I want people for America. And I just really want the fighting to stop. I want the Democrats to step down and stop. But they won't, because they're pandering for the Zionists, for the big money people, because that's where all their food comes from. And so we've got somehow get a handhold on our consumerism, and how we spend our money. And all of that is really important right now, especially right now.
Absolutely. Got to make America healthy again.
Somehow. But, I would say RFK Jr. is bringing a lot of light to the vaccination issue. Today, people, I know a lot of young people that are not getting vaccinations anymore for their children. They're not getting any vaccinations. They're not vaccinating their children. And what we're going to see is a huge opportunity to measure unvaccinated children with vaccinated children, because during the COVID, not everybody got their vaccination schedule on time because everything got shut down. So people are going to see a big sliding meter towards health regarding unvaccinated children. So that's really where we have to start. Stop getting vaccinations. I am completely 100% anti-vaccine, 100%. And so I don't believe right now there are any vaccines that are safe. See, and before I was really hesitant to even say this. I do say it sometimes, but I'm not holding back anymore. That's it. The Khazarians, the mafioso, they have got a lot of developing rapidly high tech. They're saying they can take your blood, they can genome sequence whatever the bits of cancer that's in your blood and develop a vaccine within 48 hours that will cure your cancer. So it looks like what they're doing is they're just really just like pushing the narrative over to, well, okay, vaccines, people are starting to figure out vaccines cause damage, autism, when they've been denying this the whole time, to, oh, big tech, these techs, people, and AI. Let's just flip it over to this story where AI now is going to be in control, and AI is going to take over the responsibility of creating.
Yeah, screw that. I don't trust AI at all. I'm good
What do you
with
think
that.
about that? What do you
No way. I don't like AI at all. And I do work in I do tech work and stuff like, and I get asked about it all the time. It's like, man, if there's anything that there's any way for the devil to come and knock on your door and start talking to you, it is AI. I'm just completely anti AI. Is that possible?
Yeah. So, years ago, several years ago, I had a client call me and she was like, I feel like something's following me. And I said, what's going on? She said, well, we had a fire. They bought a new house. They had a fire. And I said, was it near your smart meter? Do you have a smart meter? And she says, yes. It was right where the smart meter was. And she had a box of crystals next to her smart meter. Where they were moving, she had some crystals right there by the smart meter. And that's where the fire started. And after that, she felt like something was going to push her in front of a car or push her down the stairs. She felt like her life was in danger. And this was a trained psychologist. And her husband was a surgeon for a hospital, for the ICU, the emergency surgeon for a hospital. So they're very well very, educated, not just very credible people. So I said, oh my goodness. So I did a little work with her over the phone, and sure enough, there had been a demonic entity that had come through that. So they do travel the digital realm. That's kind of how they can get in and mess with people. So through God's work, God removed it. So when he called me a couple days later and said, well, okay, we're all good now. She didn't feel that anymore. So yeah, they do travel the digital realm.
Very cool. And I don't know if you can see the comments or not, but my friend Kriprick did have a little thing he wanted me to let you know that he got an experimental vaccine for um, severe allergies, which they sold as a treatment, and they never called it a vaccine. So I don't what do they call it? Oh, a treatment. Okay, yeah, treatment. It's not a vaccine. It's a treatment nowadays. But there's so many alternatives out there. There's so many natural things that God has given us, and a lot of these vaccines act like that's what they're doing. Like they're just using this natural stuff, and you look inside of it, and it's just garbage. And why are we putting this stuff into our bodies? Why are they not testing it? I don't know. Anyways, he wanted me to let you know about that. He said, pretty sure it triggered my, and I can't even pronounce this, ankylosing spondylitis. I have no idea what that is. Sorry, Rick, or how to pronounce it.
No, I can't see the comments, but
Okay.
but I can tell people this is not medical advice, right? I'm not a doctor or anything. This is something that I would do for myself. So I'll just put that disclaimer out there. If people are if I was, let's put it this way, if I was experiencing injection problems, experiencing problems after getting the jab in the arm, nicotine is a poison. Okay, it really is. But it just like a 5 to 7 day, either getting the patch or chewing the gum, 3 milligrams. If I was really small, I'm really small, so I would do like 2 milligrams, even 1 milligram if you're really small. But if you're a bigger person, if I was a bigger person, I'd take 3 milligrams and chew it for about 10 minutes or put the patch on. This helps for shedding, but also, say, the long COVID is what they're talking about, or immediate problems with any kind of jab, especially the COVID. That nicotine, we have nicotine receptors on our cells. So if a person gets some nicotine in their system, it blocks the receptor cells. And then the spike proteins apparently can't adhere and attach. And then you can cleanse them out of the body. I'm not sure, I guess if you're regenerating, you could do intermittent days, but long-term nicotine is not a good solution. For people for shedding, if you're around people that are shedding, and the shedding does occur even up to 6 months, 8 months, they can be shedding, which is a long time, and they're always giving them boosters and stuff. So, but I've found that niacin, you can get 25 milligram dissolve under your tongue niacin tabs. That niacin is similar to nicotine. I don't know how, but somebody recommended this on a chat that I'm on, and so I thought I'd try it. I really haven't been able to find any information about why nicotine and niacin are connected and how they work, but the long-term health benefits of niacin B3 flush is good for heart palpitations, rapid heart beating, anxiety, PTSD, things like that. I just take 1 or 2 tabs under the tongue, and it helps tremendously. So long-term, niacin B3 flush is always good. Or you can try, I would try the nicotine, but not long-term because I've gotten pretty sick on it, like nauseous. Like I would chew the gum and then I would work on somebody and I'd be like, ugh, I would get like fatigued and nauseous and clammy and sweaty. And I'd be like, ugh. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm poisoning myself with nicotine, to try to save myself from shedding. Because I do work on people. That's have a hands-on, job. So if anybody's listening, maybe this will be helpful for you. Cardio Miracle, if you're having high blood pressure issues and things. Again, not medical advice, just things I found that help me. Cardio Miracle, I found that out through G. Edward Griffin. It's really good. It's got a lot of benefits. It's nitric oxide booster. That's really what you want to target that, the nitric oxide, which is quite beneficial for high blood pressure and different things like that.
Very cool.
People that have had, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
I was just going to finish and say that people that have had COVID, and I had it, and I'll tell you when, it's quite astonishing. It's hard to believe, but they wanted to pre-release it so that people would come up positive with a PCR test, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they pre-released it. I actually got the pneumonitis, the viral pneumonitis, which is like a viral pneumonia type of thing, April of 2018. So they were spreading it around quite early. I never did tests, so you know what? All I can say is that it was the classic bioweapon that came out. Rapid, filling up of the lungs, blah, blah, blah. But my blood pressure spiked pretty high. And sometimes it will still spike once in a while. So the long COVID issue is definitely real. And I'm going to throw this out there and say, I don't believe in the snake venom theory. I don't believe in the snake venom theory. So, but he's the one that suggests, is it Dr. Artist or whatever? He's the one that suggests the nicotine, and it actually does work temporarily, Anyway.
Very cool. Well, I've only got about maybe 15 more minutes here. My friend Crip Rick did want me to ask you if you're interested. He does a radio show, he does a YouTube show, and he would love to have you on. I can talk about. I'll mention some of the details in the chat if you're willing to. But he covers a lot of these topics like this, and he would love to have you on.
Oh, sure, no problem. Happy to share what I know, and it's very good speaking with you. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Absolutely.
the opportunity and to get to meet you. I enjoy everything that you've been sharing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to be in the Dark Docs chat there. And yeah, you're always welcome. I'll always, whenever I'm live here, I'll drop the link and you're always welcome. I'm going to play a little bit of the, just a few more clips, and you're welcome to hang on here if you want to. And any final words, anything before I get to these clips?
I guess anybody listening to this, just keep your energy up. Practice breathing in, feeling good, exhaling and feeling, letting go. This will keep your body into a frequency that will hold up better and be less pervious to energies that want to get in and try to, get your energy, because we are in a spiritual war. So just keep smiling and keep breathing, and you'll fare way better than getting into the fear mode. Okay, take care, everybody.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless.
All right. I'm going to play it looks like Senator Cassidy finally did go on and talk a little bit about RFK. He was like kind of not, I wouldn't say anti-RFK, but he was not very pro-RFK during the Senate hearing. So I do want to hear what he's got to say before I
Senator from
before I
Louisiana.
shut this one down.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a statement. Are we in quorum call?
Yes,
I ask that the quorum call be vitiated.
without objection.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a statement regarding my vote in committee to, on behalf of Robert F. Kennedy to be the Secretary of HHS. First, I thank everyone who has contacted me over the last few days. Almost all have been respectful and seek the best for our country. And I've been contacted by text, by phone, by email. And if I didn't respond to anyone, it was not to be rude. It's just I was getting hundreds of messages a day personally and thousands through the office. And I just physically could not. Now, Mr. President, believe it or not, of these hundreds of people calling me and contacting me, however they did, many of them disagreed with each other, diametrically. Three-dimensionally, they disagreed. But the unifying factor is that they all desire the best for our country, even though they differ from each other so much. And maybe that kind of frames my feelings about this nomination. For context, before entering politics, before ever thinking about running for political office, I practiced medicine for 30 years in a public hospital for the uninsured, caring for those who otherwise would not have been able to afford the access to the care that I provided. After seeing patients die from vaccine-preventable diseases, I dedicated much of my time to vaccine research and immunization programs, personally witnessing the safety monitoring and the effectiveness of immunization. Put simply, vaccines save lives. This is the context that informed me when considering RFK as the nominee to be Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. It was a decision I studied exhaustively. I took very seriously. And as I said I would, I spoke with Mr. Kennedy not once, but multiple times over the weekend, including this morning. We had in-depth conversations about the medical literature, about the science behind the safety of vaccines. He referred me to studies and to people. I reviewed them and spoke to those whom he mentioned I should speak to. Now, the most notable opponents of Mr. Kennedy were pediatricians on the front lines of our children's health who regularly have to combat misinformation, combating vaccine skepticism with correct information that comes from their education, their training, and experience as physicians. They are aware of the falling vaccine rates and the inevitability of increasing hospitalizations and deaths of children from vaccine-preventable diseases. They are aware that children are now contracting diseases that they would not have contracted if the child was vaccinated. Now, I heard from others impassioned about the need to address chemicals in our food and a belief that we are victims of large impersonal forces maximizing profits while sacrificing our health. And there is evidence for that. Although food safety is principally a USDA concern, I strongly agree that this is an issue society must address. Other RFK supporters are concerned regarding environmental risk. They fear these risks are being ignored by authorities. Mr. Kennedy's history of environmental activism motivates their support. I pointed out that the Environmental Protection Agency monitors this, not the Department of Health and Human.
See, I really like this. What this guy did is he was skeptical of RFK Jr. and what he did is he talked to him and he grilled him probably, and Kennedy was able to cite sources and to really talk to him more about his views on these various topics, on the vaccines, the dangers of them. And this is how it's gonna have to happen. It can't happen in a 10-minute hearing where everybody's just telling Kennedy, answer yes or no. Yes or no. Okay, well then that's no. You really have to be able to do what this senator did, Senator Cassidy. It kind of worried me because it was like, is this guy gonna vote against Kennedy? What's going on here? And I do want to know the full tally of all the people that did vote against Kennedy. So I hope to get that later on, because we're going to get a pretty good idea of how close this vote is going to be whenever the vote happens next week. And Tulsi Gabbard, that vote should happen next week too, I believe.
Services, but they still feel that he can make a difference. So as I looked how to resolve this, I returned to where I began. Would it be possible to have Mr. Kennedy collaborate in helping public health agencies re-earn the trust of the American people? Now, regarding vaccines, Mr. Kennedy has been insistent that he just wants good science and to ensure safety. But on this topic, the science is good. The science is credible. Vaccines save lives. They are safe. They do not cause autism. There are multiple studies that show this. They are a crucial part of our nation's public health response. But as someone who's discussed immunizations with thousands of people, I do recognize that many mothers need reassurance that the vaccine their child is receiving is necessary, effective, and most of all, safe. While I'm aligned with Mr. Kennedy as regards ultra-processed food, reforming NIH, and taking on chronic disease, once more, it leaves vaccines. Now, Mr. Kennedy and the administration reached out seeking to reassure me regarding their commitment to protecting the public health benefit of vaccination. To this end, Mr. Kennedy and the administration committed that he and I would have an unprecedentedly close collaborative working relationship if he is confirmed. We will meet or speak multiple times a month. This collaboration will allow us to work well together and therefore to be more effective. Mr. Kennedy has asked for my input into hiring decisions at HHS beyond Senate-confirmed positions, and this aspect of the collaboration will allow us to represent all sides of those folks who are contacting me over this past weekend. He has also committed that he would work within current vaccine approval and safety monitoring systems and not establish parallel systems. If confirmed, he will maintain the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices recommendations without changes. CDC will not remove statements on their website pointing out that vaccines do not cause autism. Mr. Kennedy and the administration also committed that this administration will not use the subversive techniques used under the Biden administration, like sue and...
I don't know how they can say vaccines don't cause autism. They should at least be open to it. We need more studies. We need more people looking into it. They need to take the scientists who are leaning on the other side saying, well, maybe they do. I mean, how does vaccines and the timing of these vaccines and this huge push on autism, this huge increase on autism, do they relate? So I think they should at least be open to it. And I think this is a turning point for some of these senators. I hope it is a turning point for some of these senators to start to look to that. But I do think that Kennedy will at least put some scientists in the right place who are open to it. And that's what we need, because it can change minds, like, and hopefully it'll change this guy's mind at some point, because it's crazy to think that where is the autism coming from? If it's not from the vaccine, where is it coming from? Let's at least talk about it. Let's discuss it and let's figure it out. Wherever it's coming from, let's figure it out, and let's do a cure for autism and a cure for cancer, not just talk like it and not just create all of these treatments or the vaccines or pharmaceutical drugs. Let's actually get to the root cause of it, and let's stop it. And I think they're worried because so many people are going to be held accountable once we get to that point. We'll see.
Settle to change policies enacted by Congress without first going through Congress. Mr. Kennedy and the administration committed to a strong role of Congress. Aside from he and I meeting regularly, he will come before the Help Committee on a quarterly basis if requested. He committed that the Help Committee chair, whether it's me or someone else, may choose a representative on any board or commission formed to review vaccine safety. If he is confirmed, HHS will provide a 30-day notice to the Help Committee if the agency seeks to make changes to any of our federal vaccine safety monitoring programs, and Health Committee will have the option to call a hearing to further review. These commitments and my expectation that we can have a great working relationship to make America healthy again is the basis of my support. He will be the secretary, but I believe he will also be a partner in working for this end. If Mr. Kennedy is confirmed, I will use my authority as chairman of the Senate Committee with Oversight of HHS to rebuff any attempt to remove the public's access to life-saving vaccines without ironclad, causational, scientific evidence that can be accepted and defended before the mainstream scientific community and before Congress.
And that's
I will
all
watch
Kennedy
carefully
wants.
for
I wish
any
I could
effort
go
to
on, but I really
wrongfully
gotta get to work here. But I want to thank my guest, Kathleen, and we will definitely be in touch. My friend Crip Rick, who does a couple radio shows, I've been thinking on Revolution Radio, revolution.radio, and I believe revolutionradio.com too. So he is really looking forward to having you on. We will make that happen so we can continue this awesome talk. I really want to thank you so much for being here for this very important show on this very important day here. And it's all about making our children healthy. And I hope that these senators will keep an open mind to it. And they keep saying, well, we're not going to remove any of the vaccines without the evidence, without the proof here. And that is what Kennedy, I believe what Kennedy is going to do is he's going to force all of these scientists, all of these pharmaceutical people, all these people who have been saying vaccines are safe, there's nothing to worry about. He's going to force them to prove it. It's put up or shut up. I'm surprised this show hasn't been canceled yet on YouTube. I keep pushing my luck here. Rick says I get an experimental jab at 10 or 12, get a wicked disease at 16. It's worth discussion at minimum. Absolutely, Rick, and I think you and Kathleen will have an awesome discussion. So to that, I just want to say God bless you all. We will be in touch, and remember, Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I, my friends. Have a great day. We'll be back soon.